Hello, welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be teaching you about Action Camera, which is a new feature added in Legion as sort of like beta test, because it's not really complete yet. It actually showed up in the pre-patch for Legion, but it was removed before the game actually launched and then reintroduced in 7.1 when it was a bit more polished. Now right now you can see my camera is not any different from the regular old default camera. It's very static. It's just sort of following my character's XYZ position. If I zoom out, it just kind of moves away from him. If I zoom in, it just sort of moves towards him. And it just kind of goes in a straight line, very static. But what ActionCam does is it offers a bit more of a dynamic option for your camera, which changes based on certain situations and how far you're zoomed out, etc. But it's not turned on through the interface options like most things are. Now if I go to this Reddit post about it, they've got this whole list of all the options you can do and all the optional things. But the basic way to turn it on is down here. You do /console ActionCam for anything you want to do related to ActionCam. And to turn it on, you do either basic, full, or default. And then off to turn it off. The two options people are going to use the most, I assume, are full and basic. Basic is the most bare bones version of ActionCam with all the optional features turned off, while full is the opposite and it has all the optional features turned on to the max. So I'm going to start with basic just so I can show you all the optional features one by one. So I do /console ActionCam basic, and now we're in ActionCam, and you'll see right away, since I was zoomed in close to my character, the camera sort of moved to the side, so it's an over-the-shoulder perspective instead of directly head-on, sort of more like Skyrim or something like that. But also, as you zoom out, the camera doesn't just zoom out, it kind of pitches up as well. So if you're fighting a large enemy, the camera will accommodate that enemy in your screen so you can see the whole enemy, not just their waist or something like that at most. And then a couple other things it does that are a bit more subtle. When you mount up, the camera sort of centers itself. And when you're jumping down from great distances, the camera sort of pitches itself downward. Going through the optional features, we're going to start with target focusing. And now what this does is it makes it so the camera will sort of look at whatever your target is, and if the target moves around, the camera will sort of adjust to keep it a little bit more centered so that your target's the focus of your camera and not you. So you have your focus off and focus on, which as always you have to append it to the /console ActionCam thing. So if I want to turn focusing on, I do /console ActionCam focus on. Now with target focusing on, you'll see if I target this dwarf, he's moving away, the camera's sort of following him. If I move around, the camera will try to follow where he is. And yeah, that's target focusing. And then the other optional feature is head movement. And there are four options here: noHeadMove, lowHeadMove, regular head move, which is just head move when you're typing it in, and heavyHeadMove. And what head movement does is it sort of follows your character's head instead of their XYZ position. So if I turn it on to heavy, that's the best way to demonstrate it. So if I do /console ActionCam heavy, not heavy, heavy head move, you'll notice now that when I zoom in, it's easier to notice. The camera sort of bobs along with my character's head movements, and when I cast spells, it'll sort of track my character's head's position instead of his XYZ position, like I said. And I like to have that on low and not full blast, because on certain classes like a demon hunter, for example, where your character does a lot of movement without actually changing their XYZ position, it gets a little disorienting. And then there's this other option for nameplates, whether to show it over their name or under their name, but it doesn't really work, as I'll demonstrate right here. So I've got this guy right here. Nameplate kind of replaces his name now. If I do /console ActionCam overNames, I think overNames is the default, so if I do this, nothing should happen. /console ActionCam underNames, and yeah, it doesn't work as I suspected. So yeah, just goes to show you how inconsequential of a feature that is. That's not the only way to use ActionCam. There's also an add-on that not only gives you an interface for activating and deactivating and configuring ActionCam, but it also gives you some extra functionality for ActionCam as well. And I'll leave a link for it in the description. The add-on is called DynamicCam. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on right now so I can start showing you the features it has. So if I go to interface and then go to my add-ons, then I'll see dynamic cam there. I'm going to turn on the advanced features for now, just because there's something I want to show in the advanced features. But a lot of the advanced features are a little confusing, so I'm not going to go over a lot of those. Now, reactive zoom is a feature that is specific to this add-on. It's not part of ActionCam, and it makes it so that if you zoom out, you'll notice that when you zoom out, it sort of goes at whatever pace you have the camera speed at. But if you zoom out a lot at a time, it'll sort of speed up, and it'll always go, so it'll always take the same amount of time to zoom out a lot as it does to zoom out a little bit. And then dynamic pitch is the thing where it points your camera up if you're zooming out and then down if you zoom in. So if I turn that off, you'll notice that the camera just zooms straight out if I zoom out. And I like to have dynamic pitch on. And then target lock and focus is a thing you can configure there. You got your camera max distance, camera move speed, shoulder offset. So if you didn't like the over the shoulder thing, but you still liked everything else about ActionCam, you can sort of put it back in the center, or you can move it even further away from your character or to the other side of your character. And then your head movement strength is a slider instead of a console command or checkbox. And then for dynamic pitches advanced settings, you can control how far down the camera pitches or high the camera pitches. And I'll get into why I like to do that in a second. So moving on, we have the situations tab, and this is where you can configure different camera settings for every situation you can find yourself in. I have city and world set to 3.5, so it's always like this far, like this camera angle whenever I'm in city or open world. And then when I'm in a dungeon or a raid, it'll zoom out more, even further if I'm in a raid. And this is neat so that you can have it change camera angles when you enter combat, and when you're in a raid, like I said, when you're mounted, when you're on the flight path, when you're in a vehicle, when you're interacting with NPCs, all kinds of different options. And one of the things I like to do for combat is a zoom to fit nameplate option. And what this does is whenever you enter combat with something, the camera will zoom out to fit the nameplate on the screen without sort of pushing it down. So if I go to one of those giants, I'll demonstrate it. So as you can see, like this is my default camera angle. And if I get close to them, you'll see I'm sort of just looking at their angles. But if I engage them in combat, boom, it zooms out automatically. I didn't do any of that, it just did it all by itself. And then when I exit combat, it zooms right back in. And now if I turn around here and just attack one of these crabs, the camera zooms out, or hell, it doesn't even zoom out at all because their nameplate's already on the screen. And then for every other feature, I'm going to demonstrate it with the taxi feature. So my taxi situation changes just about everything about the camera. The shoulder offset is centered, there's no head tracking. Dynamic pitch is changed to aim a little bit further down so it's focused on the environment below me while I'm flying over it. And I'm going to turn on a few more features just to demonstrate what it can do. Turn on rotation. You can change the speed at which it rotates around your character. And let's see here, hide my UI. And I think that's everything you can change, barring any advanced options, which I don't want to mess around with. So if I go to the taxi now, take a flight to Dalaran, it hides my UI and it starts rotating around my character with the camera sort of aiming down, looking at the environment that I'm flying over. So yeah, that is Dynamic Cam and Action Cam, which is default for WoW without any add-ons. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy Dynamic Cam and or Action Cam if you use them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.